So welcome my dear students. So today our topic is generation of computers, and we know that with the advancement of technologies, revolutionary changes has been taken place in the computer industry, and various computing devices were invented in different types to overcome the different types of problems. Based on this device used, computers are classified into several generations. Each new generation has helped to increase the speed, accuracy, reliability, and storage capacity of the computer. Improvement made in each generation has also reduced the size and cost of the computer. With the improvement of hardware technologies, there are improvement to software technologies also. So starting from the primitive stage of computers up to present, computers are classified into 5 different generations according to history of development. So there are 5 different generations: first generation, second generation, third, fourth, and fifth generation computers. So now let us start with the first generation of computer, which started from 1940 to 1956, and let's see some features of this generation. The first generation computer used vacuum tubes for operations. They used magnetic drum for storage. So this is the image of vacuum tubes, and this is the image of magnetic drum, which was used to store the data. That means storage device. See, this was in the first generation. This type of storage device were used, but now in our today's world, in today's era, we use pen drive, hard disks, CD, etc. as our storage device, and they use punch cards for feeding input. So this is the image of punched card before, uh, but nowadays instead of this punch card as input, we use keyboard mouse as input device to provide the input or to feed the input. Now the next is speed of the CPU was measured in milliseconds. 1 millisecond was equals to 1000 part of a second. That means 1000 milliseconds were equivalent to one single second. And these are some examples of first generation. That means these are some names of first generation computer: ENIAC, EDVAC, EDSAC, and UNIVAC. And these all are the abbreviated word, and you have to learn the full form of this one because it will come in your exams. So now see, this is the picture of ENIAC computer, and all these are the, if you see on the left hand side and the right hand side, all these are the vacuum tubes. So let us see some advantages of this generation of computer. At that time, these computers were the fastest computing devices. They could execute complex problems also. And some disadvantages: the size of the vacuum tube was very large, and so each computer could occupy huge space. See, somebody is spelling its mistake, clerical error. This computer required spelling is mistake, clerical error. This computer required high electrical power. Each computer had a different coded program called a machine language or binary language, and hence was not very easy to program, since this machine language or binary language are written in the form of zeros and ones, and it was very difficult to write the program during that time, and it was very difficult to transfer them from one place to another since it was very huge in size. Okay, and now next they need a heavy air conditioning. Since this computer was very huge in size, they require higher electrical power. Since they use higher electrical power, the higher the power you use, the more the heat you produce. So because of that, they needed heavy air conditioning system. Now let us see the second generation. The era was from 1956 to 1963. The features. Transistor were introduced in this generation of computer. In the first generation of computer, vacuum tube were used. That means the technique used for the first generation was vacuum tube, and the technique used in second generation was the transistor. So these are the main operators. So these are the transistor which were responsible for the entire operation of the computer during the second generation. These computers were smaller and they occupy less space compared to the first generation of computer. They were faster, cheaper, and more reliable than the first generation computer. This computer replaced machine language with assembly language, so writing program was easy. Assembly level language. In assembly level language, numeric codes were used, which were written in a English word. They consume less compared to the first generation computers. This computer had components such as printers, secondary storage, operating system, and stored program. They use printers and secondary storage device. Secondary storage. So what is the secondary storage and stored program, that we come to know later on in our coming topics. And this operating system, Windows is one of the operating system, Linux is one of the operating system, and Macintosh, which is used in Apple. All these are the operating system. Example, so the type of computer used in computers used in second generation were PDP, IBM 709G, 1401, and etc. So this is the image of second generation computer which was developed by IBM company during that time, and this was only the company which used to develop the computer for the business purposes. Now some advantages. These computers were faster than the first generation. Obviously, they were smaller than the first generation computer. They consume less power than the first generation computer. And disadvantages. This computer require frequent maintenance. Power consumption was still high. They require air conditioning. The cost was still high. And let's go to third generation of computer. We started from 1963 to 1975. The features. The computer used IC, that is integrated circuit, for performing their operation. In the first generation, what was used? Vacuum tubes. In second generation, transistors, and in third generation, IC, integrated circuits or integrated chips also we can say. Integrated circuit. So this is the image of integrated circuit. I think you have seen this type of thing somewhere. The computer was portable and handy so that you can carry. The performance of the computer was very high compared to first and the second generation. High level language was used. High level language was used, and it was easy in programming. High level language. So that time the high level language was like DOS, BASIC, COBOL. All these are the high level languages which are written in a simple English language, and with the help of which the writing programming was easier than the first and the second generation computers. Example, NCR, D6500, PDP-11. These are some computers that were used in, names of the computer that were used in third generation computers. So this is a diagram of a third generation computer. So let's go now fourth generation. Okay, advantages first. This computer was faster as compared to the previous generation. Obviously, this computer was smaller size compared to first and second generation. The computer consumed lower power for performing their operation. They were reliable and more efficient. And the disadvantages, the storage capacity was not so high. The computer needed air conditioning system. The cost of computers was still high. So these are some advantages and disadvantages of third generation of computers. Now let us see the fourth generation of computer. We started from 1975 to 1989. Some features. LSI and VLSI circuit were used. LSI means large scale integration and VLSI means very large scale integration circuits or chips were used. So these are some images of LSI and VLSI. They were transferred from one place to another because it was small and it was handy. Graphical user interface was developed. Graphical user interface means, graphical user, spelling of user is mistake, I can clerical error. Okay, GUI means graphical user interface means using images, using videos, using audio are known as the graphical user interface. So it was started from fourth generation of computer. So till first, second and third, instead of graphical they used to use CUI, that means command user interface. Only with the help of command, only by writing the command, the computer could operate. Now output devices like printer, plotter were introduced. An example, IBM PCAT, Apple II, Cray-1 and etc. So this is an image of fourth generation of computer which was again developed by IBM. And you know the full form of IBM? The full form of IBM is International Business Machine. You know the company called IBM? So the full form of that company name IBM is International Business Machine. So the last one is fifth. Okay, advantages first. Okay, computer were the fastest compared to the previous generation, consume less power than the previous generation, plotters and printer were introduced, computer used multi-purpose, that is they could perform different types of problems. Advantages, complex and complicated technologies were required to manufacture CPU, that means VLSI and LSI circuit. It was complex and complicated technology and its associated components. The computers were still instructed, was given instruction by users. So these are some advantages and disadvantages of fourth generation of computers. Now next is fifth generation of computer that started from 1989 until that. That means we are on the fifth generation of computer. So we are living in the fifth generation. So ULSI technologies are used that reduce the size of the computer and make them faster and more powerful compared to previous generation. ULSI means ultra large scale integration chip. So this is the technique used in fifth generation of computers. In the first generation was vacuum tube, second generation transistors, third generation IC, integrated circuit, fourth generation what? LSI and VLSI, and in fifth ULSI, ultra large scale integration. So this is the image of ultra large scale integration chip. The concept of parallel processing is introduced. So parallel processing means doing many jobs at the same time. Like for example, at the same time, if you are browsing the internet, so at the same time you can hear the music also, and at the same time you can download also, and at the same time you can copy one file from one place to another. So doing all the processing at the same time is known as parallel processing. Internet is used for various purposes. computer like laptop, pocket computer, etc. are developed. Now so this is the image of fifth generation that we have seen, that we see nowadays. Now some advantages. They are fastest computers so far. They consume lowest power compared to a previous generation. They are capable of doing large number of tasks at a time, that means working parallelly. They have large storage capacity till date. Spelling of date is mistake. Clerical error again. Now disadvantages. The major disadvantage of this generation of computer is that they cannot think, perform different operations like human expert. That means they cannot take decision by themselves. So the main disadvantage of fifth generation computer is that they cannot take decision by themselves. So these are some so these are the fifth generation of computers. So in first generation vacuum tube, second transistor, third IC, fourth microprocessor or LSI or VLSI, fifth generation quantum computer or ULSI. And see again, first generation vacuum tube, second transistor, third IC, fourth microprocessor or LSI, VLSI, fifth generation VLSI and AI. AI means artificial intelligence. And see this period. In some of the books, the period are given different. In if you search in internet, also you might find different, and it doesn't matter. Okay. So these are the generations of computers. So this much for today.